All right, so this is like 4 to 6 hours later.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, on a third day that we basically went through about, what, 5 different orientations on this mounting system?
Yeah. Corrections,
In which,
adjustments.
yeah, correction, speak up. Correction.
Corrections and adjustments of basically the lean of the bike needed to camber into the cab, and the cab needs to camber into the bike. So we did run-throughs and stuff like that. So if it cambers away, it just feels really awkward leaning left on the bike. If it cambers too far in, then you get right pull on the bike. So we found that happy medium. It's about 1 inch left, top to bottom, away from the cab.
Okay, let's show that. So we follow the directions, and we don't agree with it.
The directions
yeah, we don't agree with it because we deal with, so we road tested the bike. So straighten that wheel out. Go ahead and get on it, and let's show them what we're dealing with on the road test. So originally we had followed the directions of the lean out of the bike being, out like 1 inch for the vertical side here. Then we followed the directions of the parallel between the frame here in comparison to the bike here on what's called the toe-in which are in here. Now what we, after road test, came up with is we needed a camber type of a thing, which I'll go to the rear. Yeah, we had this thing in 3 different positions, and those first 2 it didn't work. So what we did is we cambered. If you see there, we're slightly cambered on the rear wheel. The wheel of the sidecar. We're cambered just a slight. I say slight, that we're about 1 inch out the top, cambered off the vertical. And then here we're cambered 1 inch equally. So we're like this, Yeah, and so what we found that works better on tracking on the road test, where we do figure eights and circles in high speed, 40 miles an hour, low speed, 5 miles an hour. About at least an hour of road testing at this stage, about 5-minute hitters. So we did quite a bit of road testing. So we kind of feel the action of this motorcycle. So in terms of the lean out and the toe in, I would suggest running a low point here, in which we have a slight dip, in which we get a camber here about a 1 inch, and then we slight 1 inch in that way, not a lean out but a lean in, so we have a camber setup. Okay, and then for the distance between the frame distance from here to here, that doesn't seem to be a hard fact. I figure that we're going for, go ahead and get on the bike, that we're going for just clearance for the primary rider's foot to clear the peg and to do proper braking. And that seems to be about, give or take, 11 to 13, 14 inches. So it's not a hard fact. So when you're doing this adjustment, which I'm going to get into, which is just a pretzel, we're going to share with you how to do it on a Rebel. Anyway, so in terms of the level, this seems to be the point that seems to have the action every time we have to check. It seems to dip down and move backwards. So what we did, and we had these struts in all different configurations. We have a shorter strut here. We have identical longer struts there. Our positions haven't changed. We're pretty much, what we did here is we actually had this 90 degrees in this point, but we needed a longer throw, so we did a 90-degree turn and we dropped it. That gave us the variable to adjust. In terms of this too, this seems to be the key nut to release. Also, these 2 biters that we had to release in order to, this was like the last thing to be able to fine-tune the adjustment. But the primary one was this one and that one. after we got that one pretty much solidified, just the way the planer action works in this direction, it agrees with whatever we're going to do with that one rear and that strut forward. So again, review, we put that bracket under there. There is a way to put it under there through the front.
And it does work with the brake.
It does work with the brake, right? We
Everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
no
the
problem with the
brake
brake
is
part. Yeah, and just a regular horizontal bite. Make sure you got that sucker biting hard. That's really important on all of them. That you get that down as far as you can. We don't want rotation. And then we decided to go with horizontal position on that hinge, and then we torque these suckers, all of them. We torque these down so it bites, and it ain't gonna hinge movement whatsoever. Same with those, and same with those, and then the positions we're in. So this one here is in this. We put it in the last hole on the vertical. I know some pictures, hey, they have a horizontal plane. We have a vertical plane of 3 holes. So we put that mid one in the rear on a Honda Rebel. This one, we have nothing. What we did on the rear is we wanted the X. We wanted the X opposing, vector forces of support. So we put that on the farthest. And we put the other one on the rear on the vertical housing. Nothing on the rear. And believe me, we did it about 6 times, different variations. And the road test, we eliminated the.
Yeah, the only thing on this one here is it did seem to twist, even with biting down on this really hard. So I did put a little TIG weld on here. We did have to cut this mount to bring it up higher. And all we did was chop out a square. And then once it was in position, we TIG welded to the frame. And that's not going to rotate again.
Yeah, so this is the area of the side cover, and that's the grommet. And this was bottoming out the grommet, and we needed
just a little bit
a longer. We needed a longer. We didn't need this thing sitting down here. We really did need it up. So we cut areas there, which doesn't affect the binding point, and we just did a standard weld to the frame, so that won't rotate. And that, believe me, the energy of the system is going to deliver it to that point. The rear right, it seems to be the manifestation of all the energy load on the system. Okay, so anyway, we're going to get ready to
Not the car.
we're going to do one more road test, then we're going to mount the cab, and then we're going to go for full 2-body ride. Okay, that's it. So we got at least 2 more videos coming up, and we did 1 weld. And let me tell you, on these we did a hard long arm torque with
I estimate 50-60 pounds
breaker bar. That was really important because we don't want that to rotate. We don't want that position to rotate. The rest of them, we made sure that all the bolts were hand tight. We did their gun, but we really wanted metal to metal hand tight on everything. Those lock nuts there, they're even hand tight. Okay, and I don't think you need to use any type of Loctite because we're beyond the torque of any of that stuff. And we were gonna do spot welding on the joints, but that system, solid, yeah. This system is so. Those bolts went on tight anyway, so they're lock washers. And by the way, we cut off the extra studs, excess threads.
Here's one without the excess thread cut.
And then we're probably gonna get to that later, but yeah, you can see one down here. We cut that off and did what we can. We're gonna probably paint the struts black in a bit here. So anyway, we got at least 2 more videos on the final. Man, we're three sessions. First session 4 hours. This one's about 4 to 6 minimum. The in-between session number 2 was about a half session of dealing with things. Oh, just to show you here. Okay, so we unwrapped that. I took the light off, you know, and it's just 2 bolts that you have to get it in there.
For reference, I mean,
hold on, and then I pedaled putty the position because that was looking really loose, and that just goes back in. I did a long cut to attach there's a high beam and low beam on this thing. Okay, the mount, this is the ground, and it bolts on, and then we got a high and low beam double filament in the bulb, and this here is obviously the bumper. You have something to say?
yeah, for reference, I'm 6'2". So at 6'2", I fit in this car.
And how many pounds?
210.
Not bad.
Not bad for
210,
a
6'2".
Full size dude.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. You know, and I'm at like 240, so
We'll see how that works out.
we're gonna be road testing this live.
Yep.
And you know, 250 Rebel. I don't think anybody's actually done this, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it within the hour. We're 3 sessions. Believe me, we're not slowing down. So, okay, this is 3A, probably of B and C.